It was a brief moment of reprieve for gun owners in Washington state that feel their state is taking away their Second Amendment rights after a county-level judge issued an injunction against that state's magazine ban. But just a brief window, even smaller than the window of Illinois Southern District Judge issuing that 6-day injunction. I think the injunction in Washington state, well, it lasted not even a day. Washington Gun Law posting this on X. Terrible news now. The injunction from Cowlitz has already been stayed by the Washington State Supreme Court. This is not a joke. They effed us already. So clearly, those in Washington State experiencing the back and forth of injunctions and then stays. So, yeah, sometimes you got to take a step back. Welcome in. It's Bishop on Air. Thanks for hanging out with me. And you got to think about all of these different terms, right? Injunction, stay, what does this mean? We experienced this in Illinois when the Southern District of Illinois federal judge Stephen McGlynn issued a preliminary injunction against Illinois' gun and magazine ban back in, late April 2023. And that lasted for 6 days before, in federal court, the state went to the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals and requested that they halt that injunction, essentially saying that injunction's not in place, which is what a stay is. So, again, that was in the state of Illinois with Illinois' gun and magazine ban. So you had 6 days worth where people were able to go out and purchase firearms of their choice without the state law being in place, but then a higher court came in and said, wait a second, the law is back in place while the case plays out. So, same thing happened over in Washington state, but for a much shorter duration. Here's the Second Amendment Foundation posting on X. Judge finds Washington's magazine ban unconstitutional. However, Michael Johnston, the Washington State Supreme Court Commissioner, granted an emergency stay Monday evening, keeping the ban in effect for now. So, again, these are the ways that the courts work, and it's something that I think a lot of people get frustrated by. Especially, I see the comments and people, even in the live feed here, talking about how it takes, just days for people to pass laws that take rights away from individuals, but then it takes years in some instances for that to be addressed in the courts fully. So here we are in Illinois, where you have the gun and magazine ban that was passed and enacted January of 2023. Lawsuits filed, but still no clear resolution, even with requests to the U.S. Supreme Court to hear the case. And the case in the Southern District continuing on with Judge Stephen McGlynn set to hold a status hearing on the 11th of this month, so just 2 days away. Down in the Southern District of Illinois, looking to move forward on the merits of this case. No longer on preliminary issues, no longer on preliminary injunction requests or asking that the case be dismissed. No, they're getting at the merits. They're lining up their witnesses, as we've talked about in the previous videos, and they're going to move forward with the trial and have some kind of conclusion before, summer? So we'll see how that plays out, but the same thing seems to be happening across the country as well in different jurisdictions. Meanwhile, you've got Bearing Arms reporting in Tennessee that a gun safety education bill is heading to that governor's desk. We'll just read a little bit of this. Anti-gun groups often describe themselves as being about gun safety. They argue that they don't want to repeal the Second Amendment. They just want to make their communities safer. Goes on to say from Bearing Arms, now I've never believed it, in part because if they were, they wouldn't take issue with gun safety education programs offered by groups like the NRA. These programs don't push gun ownership or anything else. They just simply teach people how to be safe around firearms. So it goes on to talk about a bill that's headed to the governor's desk in Tennessee, requiring public schools in Tennessee to teach children age-appropriate firearm safety concepts. As pre-kindergarten is going, it's on Governor Bill Lee's desk after a final Senate vote Thursday. So members of the Tennessee Senate, they passed House Bill 2882 in a party line vote Thursday morning, and it passed back in February in the House. schoolhouse. If signed, school children would be taught age-appropriate and grade-appropriate concepts about guns beginning in the 2025-26 school year. This is interesting. I mean, my first exposure to firearms was at a Royal Rangers camp. It was like the non-denominational Christian version of Boy Scouts. But we learned about a .22 rifle, and we at that camp were able to take part in a shooting competition. I got second place in that, and I think, gosh, I was like 8 or 9 or something. But teaching that early on in life, it's interesting to see that Tennessee's moving forward with something along those lines. So we'll see how that plays out with the governor there. But then you've got in Arizona, Governor Katie Hobbs, and this is coming from Giffords, the gun control group. She vetoed a bill that the Giffords group says is dangerous, that would make it legal for someone to shoot anyone on their property. Giffords goes on to say similar laws in other states have been used as an excuse to shoot first and ask questions later. Arizona is safer without it, Giffords says. So Governor Hobbs, they say, makes the right call in vetoing the deadly, quote, shoot first bill. So there you go. Fascinating to see kind of just a little sampling of some of the gun control news from across the country this morning with Bishop on Air. We will, of course, keep you updated on the latest as to what's happening with Illinois' lawsuits against gun control. We've talked a lot about the Southern District of Illinois federal court with the challenge against the gun ban. You've got the U.S. Supreme Court still in front of them. Several requests for them to intervene in a case. Several cases challenging Illinois' gun and magazine ban. But then you get into the FOID card issue and a case, Myers v. Kelly, that attorney Thomas Magg filed last year in October, I believe. In May, they're actually going to be moving forward with discovery in that separate case challenging the firearm owner ID card in Illinois. So we'll be watching that closely as well. So I appreciate you guys being here each and every weekday morning, hanging out, and hopefully I'm informing you and keeping you posted on what you need to know, all right? Greatly appreciate it.